there's a sign behind you, and it's the Family Court Mastery. What is that?
Yes. Family Court Mastery is a course. It's a training course that we're going to launch. It launches in I'm going to say January. Launches in January. And what it does, or what it will do, is it will provide somebody who is heading into family court. It will provide them with a series of training modules, and there's about 40 in total. And it tells them how to go through family court on your own with no legal representation at all.
Okay, so basically a pro se course, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, we call them litigant in person, but yes, exactly. So, the course tells you everything: how to fill forms in, how to talk to solicitors if you end up in a room with, obviously, and the other side's got legal representation, how you talk to them, how you challenge things, how you talk to the judge, the whole process, everything that I theoretically do for them as a lawyer. It tells them how to do it themselves. So that comes out in January. As I say, we call it Family Court Mastery. And then what we've now decided to do very recently, because over here in the UK, just as you have in the US, we have a multinational society. We have people whose first language is not necessarily English. And so we're launching it. When we launch it in January, it's launching in I think it's 8, it might be 9, 8 or 9 different languages.
Wow.
So you'll be able to, because one of my biggest issues over here, we've got a very large Asian community. I know we have Asians, you have Hispanic, but we have a very large Asian community. English is not their first language. Most of them speak Urdu or Bengali or Punjabi as their first language. So we're going to launch this course in Urdu and in Punjabi and in Bengali. In order that, because one of my biggest problems is I'm sat with a guy whose first language is not English, and I'm trying to explain to him very technically, this is what's going to happen in court, and this is what I'm going to talk about, and this is what's going to be, these are your rights, these are your options.
Right.
And he's grasping some of it, but he's not grasping all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I say to him, look, there you go, there's 2 hours of video for you to watch, which is in Urdu, your mother tongue, watch that, and you'll be perfectly okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. So that comes out in January. I say we're going to launch that. The first version is to deal with child proceedings. So dealing with child custody matters, domestic abuse matters. And then later in the year, there'll be a second version which comes out, which is to deal with divorce and financial proceedings. So cutting up the assets, who gets the house, who gets the car, that type of stuff.
So is this something that you spearheaded?
Yes. Yeah. I made a decision. Well, it's a year ago now. I made a decision a year ago that we should do this because over here we have had a move away from people being able to afford legal representation. We, in this practice, we operate on a slightly different basis to other people. So a number of our clients don't pay any fees at all. We work for them for free because we just should. They're just in a set of circumstances that means that we should. But I wanted to give another option to people. I wanted to say, look, you can't go to legal. You want to be on your own, but if you go on your own currently, you still don't know anything.
Right.
So the opportunity for you to be slaughtered in the family court system is huge. Right. So I want to give you an education. So we decided, so I then said, well, we'll conceive this course, which we've been working on for the last year, in order that people can say, well, okay, I can't afford legals, I can't afford lawyers, I can't afford attorneys, but what I can afford is this course because it's a fraction of the cost.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
And I'm going to be able to sit at home, and as I go through my proceedings, the course is always with me. So I get a letter from the court that says your next hearing is going to be what we call a DRA, a dispute resolution appointment. Now I look at the course, it tells me exactly what a dispute resolution appointment is, exactly what I need to do to get ready for it, what is going to happen during it, what conversation I potentially am going to have with the legal representative for the other side, how I'm going to talk to the judge. And It tells all of that.
That's amazing. And I was going to bring up that over 25% of your clients don't pay anything.
They don't. That's true.
And that's not a requirement in the UK for you being an attorney. Like you've got to represent so many people free. This is because Daniel Ryan is awesome.
this is what I do because it's right. It's the right thing to do.
Right.
That that people come in to see me, and I'll sit and I'll listen to their case, and during their sort of first free consultation with me, which lasts an hour, and I sit and I listen. And I say, okay, that's fine. It becomes very obvious to me that there is no way on this earth that they are going to afford my fees.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two options at that point. Option one is, thanks for coming. You can't afford to work with me. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
That's option one, but that is just not an option.
Right.
Because option two is, you can't afford my fees. So I'll tell you what, there aren't any. Because I need to help you get to a better place than you're currently in.
Yeah.
And me and my team will help you get there. And the moment we get past that issue of fees, you are no different from any other client in this practice.
Right. It's not like you're going to treat them less because they're not paying you.
No, they get access to everything that everybody else gets. So they get access to my counsel and all my other team and all my legal team and my psychologists and all. They get access to all of that because at that point they're a client. And the fact that that we never raise a bill to them, we never raise a fee is doesn't matter. We've had that conversation. It's gone. It's now about getting to the end of the game for them.
And you're changing lives in more ways than one because these people are getting the help they needed without having to sacrifice their home.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. As I say, coming to me and saying, well, in order to pay you, my children are going to go without stuff. Potentially, I might lose my home eventually. I'm going to have to sell the car. All that's got to happen in order for me to be able to pay your fees for you to be able to help me.
Right.
And I just can't have that. I can't live with that.
Right. No, they have to give you like legal proof or something because some people aren't going to be honest with you, Daniel. They'll be like, I ain't got no money, and they got a trunk full of hundreds in there,
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yes. It's when they turn up in a sports car and tell me they're poor. Yeah. Ignore.
That's the American way right there.
You're going to say, ignore that Ferrari. It's not mine. Yeah, I borrowed it. Yeah. But I don't, and we call that means testing. So I don't means test people. I work on, and maybe I've been caught out. I don't think I have, but I work on gut feeling. So I work on people. So I've spent a long time doing this, and I've worked with people all my life. Mm-hmm. So I know people. So someone comes in, sits down, and I think I know what you are.
Yeah.
And so you are going to be one of my clients that I'm just going to look after, and we're never going to talk about fees because that's just not something we're going to do. And then we have another set of clients who work on reduced fees, and then eventually we have a set of clients who, obviously work on full fees. So everybody's on this very flexible, flexible pattern because the fee, I need the fee. I run a business. I employ staff. I have offices and etc. and so forth. So I need the fee, but it's not the most important thing.
Right, because you're not driving a Ferrari.
I'm not driving a Ferrari. That is very true. Yeah, that's very true. If I charged everybody, I would have a Ferrari, Laurie.
Yeah, you don't want an attorney that drives a Porsche or Ferrari or anything like that. You want the one that drives the old Chevy car, right?
Yeah. The guy who's got the old car. He's the guy you want because he's the guy. He's the guy who's credible. Yeah.
He's going to fight for you.
Yeah, he's an honest man.
Yes. Because I'm sure it's there too. Attorneys don't have a very good reputation. And maybe that's why I love what you're doing so much. And it really does. It touches my soul because I know what difference that would have made with me. There were times that I had to take every bit of my savings and go get an attorney. I had to have yard sales. The neighbors donated stuff because all of a sudden I need $4,000 to hire an attorney. And it was a constant thing. Now, granted, I always won most of my attorney's fees or some of them. Honestly, I don't even want to know how much I had to pay out of pocket because it'll just make me sick. Because none of them were valid reasons, right? But I know how much that would have taken off me stress-wise from a single mother standpoint.
Yeah. It's just something I can't do.
Yeah.
I can't add to people's pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just not something that I can live with.
Yeah.
So and we get, obviously we can't help everybody who walks through our door. That's one of our biggest problems, is the fact that we are at capacity in terms of what we can do most
Right.
of the time. And we have a waiting list of people who are waiting for me to start their case, which is very rare
Hmm.
for legal practices over here. But we do. I've got probably a list of, currently there's probably, I don't know, 30 people on the list
Oh,
currently
wow.
waiting for me to start their case, and they will wait until I'm ready to start their case.
Right.
Um, and I think it's just about the way we look after people. And I think you're right. All legals, all around the world, attorneys and lawyers do not have a good reputation.
Hmm.
They are seen as being very greedy, very self-centered. They're all rich, apparently.
Hmm.
Um, you know,
Or they try to make you think they are.
yeah, I was going to say yes, yeah, yeah, and so they have this reputation. Well, we have that reputation. They have that. We have a reputation. I like to think that we don't. The reputation that we have is that people come to us and we look after people.
Right.
And we do our absolute best for them, and that's measured by the fact that when we've finished with people, as in terms of their proceedings have finished, their court proceedings have finished, we very rarely lose clients. They stick around.
Hmm.
They contact me to ask my opinion on them buying a new house or buying a new car, or what school their child should go to. So they contact me for all sorts of strange
They
stuff.
trust you.
Well, they do. Yeah, they trust
Yeah.
me, and that's something that's invaluable to me.
Yes.
People's trust is the most difficult thing to secure, and it's the easiest thing to lose.
Hmm.
Is people's trust in you. So we work very hard to ensure that people maintain their faith in us.
And that's awesome. I know. I think I went through three, four, I don't know, five attorneys throughout the 18 years.
Mm.
And the first attorney actually ended up becoming a judge. So
Okay.
had to get another attorney. And the second one, I don't know how much I paid for him to scroll Facebook to see what kind of dirt he could get on my ex to have nothing, right?
Mm.
Um, then he's also the one that was like, "Oh yeah, we can find a way to lower your bill." Like, no, no,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, hmm,
Wow.
yeah. I think he's the same one that told a friend of mine if she went on a cruise with him, he wouldn't charge her.
Well, I
Yeah,
think that's an incredibly reasonable stance.
yeah, yeah. I
Good
mean,
Lord.
go on a cruise with the pervert, and he'll
Mm.
represent you better, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant.
But there is
Mm.
one that I'm telling you, I love this man. I love him and his wife. She helps with his business. And
Okay.
I think their son actually works there too now. But from the very beginning, it was completely different. It wasn't let's bust his butt. It was
Mm.
about my kid. And the night before court, he didn't call me and say, "You owe me $500 more or I'm not showing up tomorrow."
Mm.
He called me at 10 o'clock at night and said, "I want to go over a few things about your son."
Mm.
And I'm telling you, I tell him all the time how much I love him. And I send people to him constantly because that's not the experience I had with others. And unfortunately, something happened one time and I had to use a different attorney because they were out of town. The one time I needed them again, right? They were out of town. And so I went with this other attorney. And I'm telling you, on a scale of 1 to 10, with them being a 10 plus, 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 he was a -4, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like I saw in our papers that the way he worded things made it where once something happened that we were waiting to happen, like my ex getting a job, right?
Mm.
That once that happened, it wasn't automatically a recalculation of child support. It was we had to go back to court where he could have worded stuff differently where that could have been avoided. And so I asked him about it and he said it's called job security. I said it's called being a douche.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's what they do.
They do.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. They do drag proceedings out, and they do make them far more complicated than they actually need it to be.
Yeah.
And they add fuel to the fire, and they build on the fight. Here's a good idea. Why don't we say this? Why don't we say that?
Hmm.
Because it's fees, 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 and Yeah, our stance is, I'll get you to the end of this journey as quickly as possible, because I'm not interested in your children becoming conditioned by this court system.
Right.
I am not interested in that. That is not going to happen.
Right.
This is a tiny little blip in their life. This is a
Yeah.
black spot in their childhood, but the
Hmm.
rest of their childhood should be glorious. Should
Right.
be, glorious. And that's what we're aiming for. That is what we're aiming for.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to make sure that we talk about is the emotional impact
Mm,
that some of this stuff has. Step families in general, there's a lot of emotion,
mm,
especially with the parental alienation. And I told you the last time that we spoke that I had a guy on my podcast from the UK,
yeah.
and he had lost his job, become an alcoholic. I mean, this was a really good, high functioning man, right? And had a
Mhm,
good job and all this stuff. Came home one day, the wife left, took the kids to go live with some guy she met on the internet.
yeah.
And he found out through the school, and he's trying to, find his kids and get his kids. And it's just this big mess. But he lost his job, had to live in a van, a
Mhm,
caravan, and then became an alcoholic and was suicidal.
yeah.
And we see that so much with the stress that step families go through, especially stepmoms, because there's a lot of weight put on stepmoms. But with the parental alienation, it is heartbreaking. And this guy, my heart broke for him. It truly did. And unfortunately, the podcast isn't out anymore because he said, I don't know if it was his attorney. I think he was trying to represent himself because he
Mhm,
didn't have any money. So I don't know who told him this, but he said that they told him the last time he was in court, he could not come back for 2 years, no matter what.
mm,
But also, after we did the podcast, he or messaged me and said, I hate to ask, but can you take that down because it's getting a lot of negative publicity,
yeah.
and it can affect me getting
Mm,
my kids. And that was
mm,
something we talked about before. And he's like, "Oh no, it won't bother things," but then it did, right?
yeah.
It's like, yeah, I can't do this. And have you ever experienced working with someone that they did decide, I just can't take this anymore?
Yes, it happens a lot. It happens a lot where clients come, and often it's dad, and it's a sad fact, but often it's dad who come, and we're 2 years into the process, and we're still fighting, and we don't feel like we're getting anywhere. And dad comes and he says, "I just can't do it. I'm done. I'm finished. It's beaten me. I've just got to walk away from this." And we're probably on a 3 out of 5 then, because I say on 3 occasions I talk them round and say, "Look, let's. I appreciate your pain, appreciate your frustration, but let's talk about your children, because you're not walking away from me. I couldn't care less. You're not
Right.
walking away from the court. They couldn't care less either.
Mhm.
You're not walking away from the mum. She loves that. That's a win.
Yeah.
Walking away from your children,
Yeah.
and this is the hardest fight you'll ever have. So let's stay in the fight." And so, thankfully, as I say, probably on 3 out of 5 occasions, that they say, "Well, okay, let's carry on," and we press on. But unfortunately, there are occasions where dads have said to me, and sadly, it is always dads, where dads have said to me, "I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I'll wait. They know where I am, and they'll come and find me one day." And that, on a personal level, that's a failure,
Yeah.
because that's the system that I work in, the
Mhm.
system that I represent, has let this man down.
Right.
Um, and then by virtue of that, I've let him down,
Right.
because I can't give him what he absolutely deserves,
Mhm.
which is to run around the park with his kids and argue over the price of trainers. And he can't do that. And he can't do
Right.
that. And I can't do that for him. So that's incredibly, incredibly sad. It does happen. It's incredibly sad. And then obviously going further than that, over the time that I've been doing this, I've had, and I can count them, and I can name them, and I can see the moment. I've had a number of dads who have taken their own lives, um, in this process, because it's just too much.
And that's wrong. That's so wrong.
That is just, there's no justification for that. There is no justification for that a system can cause you to want to end your life.
Yeah. I had another guy on my podcast that he basically told the judge, when I kill myself, it's your fault.
It's down to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm doing it because you won't let me see my kids.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, well, if you're threatening to kill yourself, I kind of understand why she's not letting you see, or they're not letting you see your kids. It's that fine line of balance, right?
It is. Yeah.
But he's been in jail for threatening to either kill the judge or kill himself in front of the judge. And it bothered me because like he swore he's going to do it. He said he will get attention then. And I'm like, but is there not a way that we can talk about this so you can work with other people to make this a stronger movement that dads need their kids? And he's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Now that I say that, I haven't talked to him in a while, so I probably need to reach out to him and see. One of the saddest things is when you're friends with somebody on Facebook that you've worked with, and all of a sudden their picture's black,
Yes.
and they did that to their picture, and then you reach out and you find out that they're no longer with us.
Yeah. They're no longer there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has nothing to do with my professional status. It has nothing to do with what I do. It has to do with a human being who came to see me and said, I need your help. And they just can't stick it out until we get to the bit where we actually give them the help.
Right.
And they bail out early and they drop out early. And I'd say it'll never get any easier. I've had two this year.
Oh gosh, man, I'm
Um,
sorry.
Yeah, yeah, and so it doesn't get any easier. Does not get any easier, and it's horrendous. It's horrendous when a human being reaches that point where they make that decision.
Yeah. They're not in their right mind, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
What state of mind are you in when you take the decision to just close it,
Right.
close the chapter?
Yeah. And then what are your
That's,
kids going to go through?
mm,
But at that point, they're, and I mean, I'm just speaking from my perspective or what I
mm,
think, but I think at that point, they honestly just feel like their kids would be better without them
yep,
because of all this crap.
yep,
The kids are probably tired of the fighting, and there's no telling what the bio mom is saying to the kids about dad. And all he hears is, I don't want to be with you. You did such and such when I was 5, which he never did, but mom's convinced him he did.
yep,
That
yep,
whole thing. And it's just a constant fight. And then to wake up and not have your kids and know that you're fighting a battle to just spend time with them. I can't imagine. I told you the last time we talked, my sister went through that.
yeah,
Um, she was married at the time. The husband took the kid to see the grandma. She was going to leave the kid there for a week during the summer and never came back.
mm,
And so it was a different state. There was no court order who had custody. When my
mm,
sister would go to try to get the kid, she'd get arrested for trespassing or,
yeah,
escorted off the property, whatever. My sister didn't have the money. We didn't have people like you here that are willing to help others. By the time that she got into court, she was a mental disaster.
yeah,
And she died, and she had not seen her daughter for 11 years prior to that. And that was one of her final wishes, was to see all her kids. And he didn't let that happen. And this guy, oh, Daniel, I know you deal with people that are probably like this, but just a horrible individual. Um, when he found out she died, I didn't know they weren't divorced legally, but they hadn't
mm,
been together for so long, 11 years.
mhm,
And so when he found out she died, he fought me on me doing the cremation. I wasn't asking him to pay for anything, but he
mm,
wouldn't sign the paper. I about went crazy. Like, okay, you tortured my sister, you took her kid, and now you won't sign the paper where I can, cremate her and give her a service.
mm.
Oh, it's just he would call her and say, I'm on the way. We'll be there in 3 hours. And so my sister would get all ready and get the house ready and all this stuff. And then he'd call, we just got off the interstate. We'll be there in 20 minutes, and then never show up.
They would show up.
What kind of sick person does that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, we have that here as well. I'll meet you at the handover point. We'll be here, there, and everywhere. And you go and stand, and an hour goes past, and 2 hours goes past, and then the client rings me and says, "How long do I stand here and wait?"
Yeah.
You know, Yeah. So yes, we have that as well. I'm afraid we have that as well, and it's a shame. It's a shame, and if there are no good reasons why a parent should see their child, if there's no abuse, there's no violence, there's nothing inappropriate. All there is a parent and a child who deserve to see each other. On a very simple level, it is fundamentally wrong that we have a system that can stop that happening.
Right. Yeah.
And you think, actually, who gave you that right?
Yeah.
Who gave you that right to tell me that there's absolutely no grounds whatsoever that I can't see my son or my daughter?
Right.
You're telling me I can't.
Right. Yep.
And,
You're telling my ex that they don't have to give me my kid.
yep, yep. Yeah, to say you are empowering them to stop my children seeing me.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no reason for that to happen apart from the fact you've just said it.
Right.
Um, and yeah, and even after all these years of working in the corridors of the family court, that still doesn't sit comfortably with me. It does not sit comfortably with me that we have a system that allows that to happen.
Right. Now, I think we talked about this too. Like with my situation, just say that the United States has decided, okay, anybody that has a child together is 50-50.
Mm.
As long as you live within a 30-mile radius of each other, right? Or something like that, right? Um, that would have been detrimental to my child's well-being.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been impossible to prove that. Well, I'm not going to say impossible, but it would have cost a lot of money, a lot of PIs, a lot of, just a mess. It would have been a lot. And unfortunately, in the States, a lot of time it's, well, until something happens.
Mm.
Well, that's not comforting, right? When you're telling them, for instance, say that there's a 2-story deck and the railings are way too far apart and you're afraid your kid's going to get hurt and you've offered to pay for it, but the person just says, screw you, whatever. And it's like, well, until something happens. Okay, well, if something happens and my child falls off that balcony, then there's not going to be a child to discuss. So anyway, it's like, I don't know the proper way for that to be because I just had to trust God
Mm.
that he would make sure that my son was taken care of. And there was a time that I was going to court again, and my attorney at the time said, this, judge is a 3-5 split. I think that's what he said. Like
Okay.
3 days here, 5 days here, 3 days here, whatever. And he said, so you might want to consider letting him have the child Sunday to Monday morning or to extend his visitation, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't consciously do that because I don't feel it's in the best interest of my child.
Mm.
It would have been different if I would have felt differently about that person.
Mm.
But again, how do you prove that? So it's like, oh, how do you do this and make it where it is in the best interest of the children? Because you would think the 50-50 would be, but that's not always the case. Just like it's not always the case that you should give mom custody. You know, I don't know. I don't know how it should work. But it's just scary because there were times that I, honest to God, was worried about my son's life because I knew his dad did not want to pay child support.
Yeah. Mm.
And I had offered, you don't have to pay child support, just sign your rights over,
Mm.
which isn't as easy as it sounds here. But and the response was, well, what do my friends and family think of me then? Well, they don't think too highly of you now, so just
Yeah, no, that's very true. It's a difficult one. The issue of, you've got two parents and one of them is entitled to see the child, but perhaps the environment that they live in is not ideal.
Mhm.
Perhaps their lifestyle is not
Right.
ideal.
Yep.
And you're right. Then the other parent is thinking, well, maybe I don't really want them to go and spend time there because, because using your example, he's got a balcony that's unsafe or whatever it might be. And that is difficult. And for the court, that's an impossible position to be in because they're
Right.
saying, we're trying to be fair here. We recognize that this child should, if it's appropriate, have a relationship with both their parents.
Right.
That's what we should have. And we recognize the fact that over here, parent number one has got a wonderful home, incredibly safe, all glorious, wonderful for a child, a lovely environment for a child to grow up. And then over here, parent number two, who loves the child,
Mm-hmm.
but their life's got a bit raggedy around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And it's perhaps not as ideal as it could be. And, and it's been a long time since they've been anywhere near a DIY store. So, but the judge has got to say, but I still have to accept the fact that they are absolutely entitled to have time with their child.
Right.
And the difficult and shared care, as we refer to it as over here, 50-50 shared care.
Okay.
Shared care is quite rare here.
Okay.
We use an order over here, a legal court order that we refer to as a lives with, spend time with order. And what that means is this child will live with mum
Mm-hmm.
and spend time with dad.
Right.
The downside of that, and it is usually that way round, it is usually lives with mum, spends time with dad. The downside of that is legally, dad is now the secondary parent.
Yeah.
Mum is the primary carer.
Mm-hmm.
And mum wears that badge like a crown.
Mm-hmm.
And so I fight hard in all of our cases to say, look, I don't want a lives with, spend time with order.
Right.
I want a shared care order in order that these two parents are recognized as being equal.
Right.
The child may only spend 1 day a year with
Mm-hmm.
dad because he lives 1,000 miles away. But I still want them to be regarded legally as equal, because that is in the best interest of the children. So that's something that we do, and it's a difficulty over here, because the court is just starting to realise, and there's a piece of case law that's come out recently, but the court is just starting to realise that lives with, spend time with is actually number one parent and number two parent.
Right.
And number two parent is always going to be on the losing end of life.
Right.
And they're starting to realize that now. So they're starting to realize that. But it is difficult. It is difficult because obviously two people have completely different styles as to how they live their life. That's how we are as human beings. And neither of us as two parents will be entirely comfortable with the other one.
Right.
I think your home is unsafe for my child. You think I'm too overbearing. I think you don't quite spend enough time focusing on the education. You think I spend too much time sitting the child down at the end of the day, making them do the homework or do some
Mm-hmm.
study or whatever. So that's just life.
Right. Right.
Just life. You've got to find the middle ground.
Right. So over there, if somebody's not married, they have a child together. Is that different than when somebody's married and they have a child together, then get divorced?
Nope. No, there's no difference. In terms of child matters, there's no difference. It's about parents. So it's about mother and father, mum and dad. Has nothing to do with whether they're married or not.
Okay. Because I know here, if you're not married, the father has to, like, I guess, request visitation or something like that. Whereas if you're married, it's almost like an automatic. I mean, you still have to get the court papers and stuff, but it's like you don't have to go to court to figure out who's going to have the kid. It's already, you were both parents, then if 50-50 works and that's what we can do, or this split kind of thing.
The only additional step in the non-married situation, the non-married example, the only extra step we have is that dad, and it's always dad has to demonstrate that he is on the birth certificate of the child.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not on the birth certificate, and sometimes he's not, because mum's chosen not to put him on.
Mm-hmm.
So if dad is not on the birth certificate, he does not have automatic legal parental responsibility. So his first stage of his legal proceeding is to fight for that.
Okay.
To get himself recognized as a legal parent, and then he begins the fight for contact. But that's the only sort of extra little bit that happens. Aside from that, once they're in proceedings, the court doesn't care whether they're married or not. They just care who's mum, who's dad, where's the children, right? Let's sort it out.
I think here, if it is a unmarried situation, they're more likely to say the kid stays with mom. and get
Mm,
dad gets visitation. Whereas if they were married, it may be where they're trying to do that 50-50 or more fair split.
mhm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I say, it's once they're in proceedings, once they're in proceedings, mum is in the is undoubtedly in the most favourable position, and currently, sadly, always will that be so, even though it's not entirely appropriate all the time. But mum is in the favoured position. Dad has got the work to do.
Yeah.
Dad has got the work to do.
Yeah. So, Daniel, what if somebody came to you and said, I want you to represent me? And they're just like, I want you to burn him a new butthole and I want you to this and, get him for that and get as much child support as you can. Do you say, I'm the wrong person for this?
Yeah.
I'm not who you're looking for.
Shut your door on the way out.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, it's not quite as blunt as that, because I'll actually start by trying to have a conversation where I say, look, that approach is just wrong.
Yep. And they're
That
not
approach
listening.
is
They're
going,
unreasonable, right?
that approach is going to win you nothing.
Hmm.
If you want to fight, there are people out there who will fight for you, and you can pay them, and they'll do whatever you want.
Hmm.
They'll say whatever you want. Those legals are out there. That's fine. If you want to go find one, but let me just take 10 minutes of your time to tell you why the approach you're currently taking is not the best approach for your children.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you are about to go into battle, and your dad, you're sat in front of me, you're about to go into battle against the mother of your children, a woman that at some point you loved,
Hmm.
and at some point you idolized.
Hmm.
Um, and your children will get to hear of this.
Right.
And at some point in the future, they may get to read of this,
Hmm.
when they access court papers, which they're entitled to do. So they may get to read of this. And do you want your children reading the fact that you spent a year of your life or 18 months of your life just attacking their mother? Is that what you want them to read?
Right. Yeah.
And either that conversation goes the way I'd like it to do and they calm down and we talk about an alternative approach, or they get up and go and leave and shut the door behind them, and that's fine. That's people's lives.
Yeah. It depends on if their love for their child outweighs their disdain for the other parent.
And that's what it's about. I said, you need to choose. What do you want more? Do
Right.
you want the respect of your child who accepts the fact that you tried incredibly hard
Hmm.
to be dad, or do you want your child to know that actually you just spent 18 months of your life attacking their mum?
Right. To
What would you
try to
like?
prove she's a piece of crap.
Yeah, to try and prove that she's a terrible mother just because your perspective, your attitude towards her has changed.
Right.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because, and again, I go back to this point, and I use this point over and over and over and over again when I'm talking to my clients, and indeed when I'm in pre-court hearing conversations where there's me and there's another legal and there's mum on one side of the room and there's dad on the other side of the room, and we're trying to have a pre-hearing discussion. And at some point, I always raise this comment, which is, at some point, you loved each other. Just take a tiny bit of that.
Did you ever have somebody go, Daniel, we never loved each other. It was a one night stand.
Well, yeah, yeah, you will sometimes get that sort of opinion.
And then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I never loved him. I wanted his money. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, indeed. I never loved him. I thought he was his brother.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes, but that was to say. So I say over and over and over again. I use that. At some point you loved each other.
Yeah.
Just try to remember that.
Yeah.
Just try to remember that. Because at some point these children are going to be old enough to say to you, what happened?
Yeah.
And I'd rather you be able to say, well, me and your mum just kind of, we just kind of came to the end of the road and we realized that, we didn't want to be together anymore. And sometimes that happens. But as you know, we're still friends and we still speak to each other and we still look after you because you're the most important thing in our life.
Right.
I'd rather that story.
Mm-hmm. That should be the commonality, is the child, yes, not the who's going to win court. Yeah.
Yeah. I would rather that than dad or mum saying to the child, "Well, your mother's a bitch, and I can't stand her, and I taught her a lesson. I taught her a lesson." Don't do that. Don't do that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I got two questions and then we'll let you go because I really could talk to you forever because I love the whole family court discussion. Um, child support over there.
Yeah. We use a system called the Child Maintenance Service. They're separate from the court.
Mm-hmm.
So the family court over here has no jurisdiction over child maintenance.
Okay.
They
No,
do
see
not
here,
decide.
yeah. Here, child support and visitation are separate.
Yeah, yeah. So over here, the same. So
Yeah.
custody matters, child visitation, who gets to see the child when. That's a court problem.
Mm-hmm.
Child maintenance, how much money you're going to pay. That's a child maintenance service or CMS. That's a CMS problem,
Okay.
and they are separate and they're dealt with separately. And over here, yeah, our CMS is not as efficient as it could be. I'll be perfectly honest. It's not as fair as it could be. And if you know how to play the system, you can be in the system for years and never spend a penny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the client who comes to sit with me and say, because we also do child maintenance as a product. So the child who comes to the client who comes and sits with me and says, I don't want to pay any child maintenance. My first comment is, why would you do that to your child?
Because I didn't want the child. That's what they're going to say.
Oh yeah, they'll say, well, I'm not even sure it is my child. That's
Mm-hmm.
a classic, not even sure it is my child. Well, do we want to find that out?
Not if it's going to cost me child support.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not if it's going to cost me money. I'd rather not know. Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah. So I say to people, look, you brought the child into the world. You have an obligation to the child.
Right.
It's not about them because your view is that you are giving money to the mother or you're giving money to the father. Forget that view. You are giving money to the child. Mm-hmm. So you have an obligation to that child.
Right. And here, say they would take my income, my ex's income, and get the total, and then include whoever's paying for the insurance, and if there's daycare cost. So just say, for instance, to use even numbers, say I made $1,000 a month and he made $2,000 a month. Then I am 1/3 of what he makes in the total, right?
Yeah.
I'm 1/3 and he's 2/3. So the medical bills, he pays 2/3 of the medical bills after a $250 payment by me, is how that works. Yeah. But then child support is to kind of balance the field between the two homes, right? From my understanding, they use that calculation. Now, of course, it has to do with how many nights the other parent has. If a dad gets a child over 91 nights in the United States, or in South Carolina anyway, their child support drastically reduces.
Okay.
So a lot of men push for that 92 day just because of the way, and it has nothing to do with the kid.
No.
It's the money. No. And look, I'm not saying that women are always right, because a lot of women, they fight tooth and nail. You're not getting that extra day because of the child support. That's more what they're concerned about. I mean, that goes both ways.
And a lot of what you've just described, we have here. Overnights are money. Mm-hmm. Overnights have a price. Mm-hmm. And the more overnights
while they're sleeping, right? They could have them till 10 o'clock at night and they go to the other parent, but that's counts as an overnight for that parent.
Yeah. So the more overnights you have, the lower your child maintenance. But where our system is fundamentally different from yours is we don't take the two parents. We just take the one parent who is going to pay child maintenance. And the whole calculation is based on that one parent. So we could have a situation where by the parent who has the children, mm-hmm. and let's use an extreme example, the parent who has the children is a multimillionaire. Mm-hmm. And the parent who doesn't have the children works in a factory for £500 a week, mm-hmm. or $500 a week. The calculation is based on the guy with the $500 a week, and the multimillionaire is expecting to get child maintenance.
Where that $500 a week can barely live.
Yeah, as I say, and out of his $500 a week, he's saying, "Well, actually, I haven't actually got enough money to pay my rent, and because she's in the family home, so
Right.
I'm having to rent, and I'm trying to run a car to get to work, and obviously I'm trying to see the kids because I see the kids every weekend. I'm doing all that, so I haven't actually got any money left, and child maintenance is, well, you have an obligation to these children, so you will pay child maintenance. So the
Wow.
system over here is very unfair, very unfair."
It sounds like it's more unfair than ours with that aspect.
Yeah, yeah, I tell
Yeah.
you, it's not. So we don't group the two parents together. It's the one parent who is on the hook for child maintenance. It's
And is
your
there a
figure.
percentage of their income that they use? Because I
It's
know in
it's
certain states it can exceed a certain percent of their income or
yeah.
yeah.
It's based loosely around 12%.
Okay.
So it's based loosely around 12% of their
Gross.
income is child maintenance.
Right. Gross, not net. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
gross, gross. That's loosely where it's based. As I say, then if you've got overnights, it comes down a little bit, and obviously when you get to the point which is the golden egg, when you get to shared care where it's what we call 7/14, so where you have 7 nights in every 14
Hmm.
and the other parent has 7 nights in every 14, that's shared care, which means there is then no child maintenance paid by either side.
Okay. Now, see, it's not like that here. You can have 50-50,
Mhm.
and one person still could have to pay child support.
Yeah, no. So it gets wiped out because the court's view is, or CMS's view, child maintenance view is, both parents are then carrying the cost of those
Right.
children. When the children are in your care, you're clothing them, you're feeding them, you're keeping
Hmm.
them warm, you're traveling them around. So you're picking up that cost. So
Right. Yeah. So that makes more sense than ours with that aspect.
in that respect, yeah, I mean, your system of taking both parents together, I think that's an incredibly sensible and fair system. We don't do that, but our bit of where if the parents are equal in that child's life, then neither of them is responsible for maintenance.
Right. But you could still have the same scenario, millionaire mom and poor dad
Mm,
and 50-50 or the
mm,
7-14, however you want to call it.
yeah,
And so when the child's with dad, they're eating pinto beans and ramen noodles every night. And with mom, they're eating steak.
yeah,
But the court looks at it as it's just fair that way. Dad
yeah,
would still have to pay this without the child, or mom would still have to pay this. And it's like the burden is shared more equally, I guess. And the
yeah,
person isn't um penalized for making money.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so yeah, so the system is not it's not great. It's not
Yeah.
great. And where we've got a high earner, so where we've got a dad or a mum who is on the hook for maintenance, and they earn a lot of money,
Hmm.
the system has this strange formula that once they get over, and off the top of my head, I think it's about £100,000 a year. The system doesn't calculate beyond that. So,
Really?
so if you're earning £200,000 a year, you're only going to pay maintenance on your first 100,000
Wow.
because we haven't got a formula for beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you've got also people that lie about their income because they get paid up under the table without paying taxes. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. As I say, obviously, people who are paid, who work for companies over here, work for firms over here. Obviously, the tax man, obviously, Inland Revenue is over here and can see it, and they are part of the same department. The Inland Revenue, the tax man is part of the same department as CMS. They're in the same building, so they can talk to each other and gain information. But obviously, people who are self-employed, and I count myself in that. I'm self-employed.
Hmm.
If I choose to hide my income
Hmm.
and declare to the taxman that I pay myself, £10 a week, that's what my child maintenance is going to be calculated on.
Right. Yeah. Because they don't have anything to dispute that, right?
No, because they've got no means. They've got an almost impossible task to try and prove otherwise. And I had one very recent, about a year ago. Well, I was looking after mum, and we got into the whole issue of child maintenance. And I said, "Well, is Dad paying any child maintenance?" She said, "Yeah, he's paid what we call the basic payment, which is £1 a day." So whatever that is,
One
I don't know what
pound a
the current
day.
exchange rate is. About somewhere between $1 and $2 a day, and that was the basic rate. And I said, well, but hang on a minute. The guy owns a business that turns over about £10 million a year, and he drives £100,000 Mercedes. How is it he is paying £1 a day? And I fought hard to get that guy recognised.
Yeah. Did you win with that?
Oh yeah.
Good job. Good job.
Yes. Yes. Eventually we won. It took a long time and a lot of work. But yeah, I just thought, no, that's not fair. That is just ridiculous. But
No,
that's the system. Unfortunately, there are holes in the system.
yes, in every system.
Yeah,
All right. My last
absolutely.
question before I let you go, because you've got to go to bed, Daniel. It's almost midnight there.
It is midnight here now. Yeah.
Your family court mastery.
Yep.
Have you gotten any pushback from other attorneys? Like, man, you're taking clients away from us by giving them the tools they need to represent themselves, or they don't care?
We've had, as I say, we're starting to sort of run promotional stuff on it now, so people are starting to become aware of it. And obviously, I talk about it quite a bit. I've had a couple of attorneys, not many, I have to say, but I've had a couple of attorneys and lawyers who've come to me and said, "I just don't think that's a good idea." And then I will say, "Well, why don't you think that's a good idea?" And invariably, the answer they want to give you is, "You're taking money out of my pocket."
Yep.
That's the answer they want to give. But the answer they will give instead, which is a bit more political, is, "I just feel you're giving them too much power and information." And I said, "Well, why is that a bad thing?"
Right.
Yeah, I said, what we're handing people, and I use this analogy, I'm giving somebody sat nav. I'm giving you the ability to find your way through the family court system.
Right.
Because
you give them knowledge.
Yes, I'm giving them knowledge, and and knowledge is power. And I'm giving them that because the reality is that if I don't, they're still not going to come to you.
Right.
They can't afford it. So they're still not
Right.
going to come to you. You're not losing anything.
Yeah.
because they can't afford your £300, £400 an hour. They can't afford it.
Right.
They're not going to come to me because they can't afford my rate.
Right.
So I'd rather give them something to give them the ability to get through the court. And all right, behind the course, there is the ability to sort of contact me and say, "Can I just ask for a bit of clarification on this?" And that's in there. So there is a bit of a support mechanism. We're not just entirely alone. But yeah, so we do have lawyers who say, you are ruining this industry.
How dare you help people, Daniel?
Yes, exactly. You are taking food out of my children's mouths. But unfortunately, the tide is already turning. Without me doing this, the tide is already turning, where people in this country are turning away from lawyers because they can't afford them.
Right. And because they've had to deal with shady people before.
Well, quite. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't trust lawyers.
Yeah. Wonder why.
But yeah. They think, they're all self-serving and etc.
There are two lawyers that I've had on the podcast, Jeanette Soltis, and I can't remember the other lady's name, but they're kind of doing like you. And also the Billy Terrasio with Modern Day Arizona or Modern Day Law or whatever. They're providing tools with people to help themselves, or they are doing things kind of free so people don't go in blindsided, because the people are going to go. And either you can go and they can be educated, or you can go and they can just wing it. And it's better to have educated people on both sides.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. And it's helping the court. I have had a conversation with the judge about it. I said, "Look, we're doing this and we plan to do this." And he said, "I think it's a great idea." He said, "Because it's much easier for me as a judge if I don't have to translate everything I say."
Right.
Because, well, what we're going to do now is we're going to explore the FDRA, and then we're going to move that on to and then I have to say, "Oh, sorry, what I mean by that is," he said, "if I don't have to do that," he said, "then because litigants in person hearings over here last longer than hearings where there's legal representation."
Yeah.
Because the judge has to spend extra time explaining to the litigants what is happening.
Right. And what's next?
This is what I'm going to do next. This is why I'm saying this. This is what I mean when I say this.
Right.
So he was saying, and and I was pleased to hear this, but he was saying, if I don't have to do that, he said,
Yeah.
frankly, I don't care if there's lawyers in the room or not. He said, because sometimes lawyers get in the way
Yes.
because
Yep.
they're there to fight a fight, and they'll fight that fight whether it's the right fight or not.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
he said, so sometimes I'm kind of okay with the fact that they're not in the room. And if I've got
Yeah.
people in the room who have some degree of education as well,
Hmm.
great,
Yeah.
great.
And I know several judges here, they're more lenient with people when they represent themselves. They
Yep,
don't expect them to be, by the book like they would an attorney. But
yep.
some of them are like, no, you're not coming in my courtroom. You're going to follow A, B, and C just like you were an attorney. You want to represent yourself, then do it like an attorney. And I'm like, that's just wrong.
It is. It is
Yeah.
fundamentally wrong. I've had that over here with a judge who said in a hearing, "You will conduct this hearing as if we have representation. It is your choice that you haven't bothered to bring any."
Hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, 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 hang on, hang on,
Yeah.
hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
If
so yeah,
people have a choice, they're going to have a darn good attorney.
yes, exactly. If everybody was, if I had the choice, and everybody would turn up with a $10,000 counsel,
Right.
who's going to be the king of the hill. Everybody
Hmm.
would turn up with that guy.
Yeah. Now, do y'all have it where you can get representation in a family court through the court, like what are they called? Like pro bono, I guess.
Yeah,
But do y'all have that? But I don't think they have that here in the family court, only in the criminal.
yeah. I'll just say, in our criminal court, we have a system called legal aid,
Yeah.
where your representation is paid for by the state, by the
Hmm.
country, because you're entitled to a fair trial. So that's in the criminal court. In the family court, the legal aid system is also available, but only the people who can apply for it. You have to be a victim of domestic abuse, and that is the only way you can get legal aid. If you're a victim of domestic abuse, you can then get all your legal costs paid for by the state. Now, let's follow the logic of that. How many people
I'm following it.
how many people just say that they are victims of domestic abuse because they get their legal costs paid?
Right.
It happens all the time. It's happening every single day.
And they don't have to have documents from the police or police reports or anything. It's just a verbal.
They've just said it.
Wow.
They've just said it. And that
Even a morally firm person might struggle with that one just a little bit. They're like, man, if I just say they abuse me, that's $15,000 I don't have to pay.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it happens. Or the reason that our legal aid system is so dreadful is because there are so many people who are claiming from it who shouldn't be.
Right. That's
You
like
know,
everything else, food stamps, all that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yes, that's our problem with legal aid. That, as I say, you have to be a victim of domestic abuse, and funnily enough, everybody's a victim of domestic abuse.
That's crazy. Well, I don't think we have that here and we don't want them to because
Yeah, it is a difficult. It's a difficult system for me because we don't operate under the legal aid scheme. I have an issue with it, so I don't operate under the legal aid scheme. So everybody who comes to me, apart from those people I look after for free, pays,
right.
and then
If
that's
they
just kind of,
go ahead.
as I say, that's just then kind of unfair that
Right.
you're in a courtroom and I've got my guy who's potentially costing £10,000, £15,000, $10,000, $15,000 for me to look after him, albeit that is a reasonable fee. But
Mhm.
anyway, he's doing that. On the other side of the room is mum, invariably it is mum, who's her £10,000 or £15,000 is not costing her a penny.
Right. Yeah. Now, have you ever had any? Now, what about men? Can men say that they were abused and get the same?
They can, but again, another one of the problems we have is that the legal aid system is very reluctant to give men legal aid.
So they
Very
need proof.
yes, so men, show me the bruise. Yeah, but yeah, So it is incredible that women make an application for legal aid, and this is just facts, not my view, but women
Right.
make an application for legal aid, and invariably they get it. 99% of the time they get it.
Hmm.
Men make an application for legal aid because they're victims of domestic abuse, and 99% of the time they do not.
That is horrible.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is horrible because that's one thing that is not talked about enough is that men can be abused.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
And because obviously, we're men and we don't talk about that sort of thing, and we're all macho and grown up and all the rest of it.
Right.
But yeah, the issue of domestic abuse, male domestic abuse, men who are victims of domestic abuse, is a massive issue over here, and we just don't talk about it.
Yeah. Definitely. We're going to add that to our list of things to talk about.
We will talk about that.
Yep. All right. So it is way past your bedtime, Daniel. We appreciate you being a guest again since the first one didn't record. And I want to have you back. You said that is it a book or is it a?
Yeah, we've got two things happening. We've got three things happening actually. So we've got Family Court Mastery obviously coming out at the beginning of 2026. Also, just after Family Court Mastery, I've got a book coming out, which is talking about family court, how it runs, and it's kind of a guide to family court, but it's got it's full of stories of stuff that's happened in family court.
That's right.
And some of it's just funny stories, that stuff that's some of the strange stuff that's happened. But yeah, so that's coming out as well. That'll be out in February or maybe March. February or March.
What's the name of that book?
That book is called Family Court.
Okay.
But because we're being ever so clever, court is spelt CAUGHT. So it's family as in being caught in the family system.
Oh, I like that, Daniel. I like that.
So there we go. So that book's called Family Court. So that comes out, as I say, February, March time. But at the same time, which is why we've delayed the release of that book, I'm now writing another book, which is aimed at children, to tell children about family court. And it talks about all of the elements of family court. Why is it that mum and dad are fighting? Why is it that dad hit mum? Why is it that mum hit dad? Why is it that they're not talking to you? What does contact mean? Why is that dad's being restricted on what it is when he can see you, or mum is? So it breaks down family court into this very age appropriate child narrative. And again, it's a series of stories that we've written or in the middle of writing, which are aimed at children, just to say, look, the reason that you've got two homes now, but the love is the same. And so that book's going to come out at the same time as Family Court.
Okay, and what's that one?
Well, I'm still working on the title for that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still working on the title at the moment. Well, see, we have a word over here, and I'm not sure if it's quite as common a word in the US. We have the word farts.
Farts?
Farts.
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 Yeah, like gas out your butt.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So currently, the title I'm currently working with is Why the Judge Farts.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Because we just think that's quite, a child will just smile at that.
Yes. All kids love farts, right?
Exactly. It's, child humor is wonderful. So that book's so three things then: Family Court Mastery and the two books. That's what the front end of 2026 holds.
Awesome. Well, I hope I can get those here in the States because I would love to read them.
Yep. Well, we will ensure that you do. We will send them to you.
All right. And one thing that you should include is why a child has to follow a court order. Because I remember my little boy saying, why do I have to go to my dad's? I don't want to go. And I'm like, because the judge said you had to. And finally, he's like, can I go talk to the judge?
Yeah.
Yeah. And kids need to understand it. Not that they need to know all the details, but they need to understand just some of this stuff. And
they do. Yeah. They do. And that's what we're looking to do with this book, is to sort of shine a light on some of these, and some of the subjects are sensitive, like domestic abuse.
Yeah.
We're not shying away from some of the difficult conversations, and dad's had an affair, mum's had an affair. Why is that? What happens next? Relationship breakdowns. But so we don't want to shy away from anything. But obviously we want to tell it in a child-friendly way.
Yeah, like daddy's got a new girlfriend instead of daddy's a whore. Right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Your father is scum.
Yeah. The mother is the scum buster.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, we could have way too much fun with that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, I really could talk to you forever. It's been great, but I'm going to make a note to reach out to you in April. Does that sound good?
That'd be good. Everything will be out and running by April. Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. So until then, you have a very Merry Christmas. I was about to say a Happy Thanksgiving, but y'all don't do Thanksgiving.
I'm going to say we don't do Thanksgiving over here. We don't do Thanksgiving.
We'll have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, all that stuff.
All
and
that.
We'll talk to you soon and keep doing what you're doing because you're great.
All right, you too, you too. I say I thoroughly enjoy. I like the whole blended thing. We don't focus on it anywhere near enough over here. And
You're
we
right.
shouldn't do. Yeah,
Yep.
and we should do.
All right, be careful going home.
See you very soon.
All right, thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.